We have to talk all of the shade that was being thrown Patti LaBelle's way in the Luther Vandross documentary, Never Too Much. I actually went to the movie theater to see the documentary last Saturday, November 16th, and I wasn't expecting much from the documentary. I just wanted to go out and see the documentary. I'm a casual Luther fan, and so I didn't have high expectations just because I knew who was involved in the production of it. Jamie Foxx, surprisingly Colin Firth, and I knew some of the commentators just wouldn't have any good talk. They don't have the gift of the gab. One of the commentators was Danielle Smith from Vibe magazine, who as a journalist just somehow always manages to be at a loss for words. So primarily what I wanted to see was Luther the artist, Luther the singer, Luther the composer, Luther the arranger, Luther the showman. And you did get a little bit of that, but I feel as though what I was confronted with a lot is his hidden sexuality, if you will. And what I mean by that is they talked about how lonely he was and how he couldn't find love. And his assistant, who I forget his name, did, like a psychoanalysis of the song Any Love and how sad it made him feel because it could be anybody, it could just be anything. He was just looking for any love, any love. And so that makes you think. And so they're kind of opening up this closet, but then they don't want to let him out of the closet. And there's a point in the film where Richard Marx, who you probably remember from Right Here Waiting for You, and who co wrote Dance with My Father for Luther, he's one of the commentators in the documentary. And he talks about how people brought up Luther's sexuality after he passed away, even though they were supposed to be his friends. And then the documentary cuts to a clip of Patti LaBelle on Watch What Happens Live with, of course, Andy Cohen, where she's talking about Luther's hiding his homosexuality because of his mother. And I just felt as though that was completely unnecessary shade because Patti LaBelle was his true friend. She just probably didn't feel like a lot of the other people who felt the need to keep something that was obviously known to everybody a secret, and it probably means absolutely nothing to her. But when they showed that clip, it kind of made me think about the beginning of the film where they were talking about his influences and how they really, really, really shaded Patti LaBelle, and Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells. They talked about how much he loved women singers, and they showed Diana Ross and the Supremes. They showed Aretha Franklin. They showed Dionne Warwick. However, Luther Vandross was a huge fan of Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells. I just have to say the name of all three acts. He loved them so much that he was the president of their fan club. And so they talked about the other woman, but they didn't mention Patti LaBelle. And they even went so far as to talk about the Philadelphia sound, which, of course, if you know Patti LaBelle, she's from Philadelphia. However, they never mentioned her unless I'm totally forgetting, but I do remember them emphasizing the OJs, the documentary makers emphasizing the 3 degrees, but nothing about Patti LaBelle, who is legendary being from Philadelphia. She's a Philly girl. She'll let everyone know. So it just seemed to me that the documentary really was trying to shame people who may have been curious about Luther's sexuality, but then at the same time, like making it the elephant in the room and then parading around the elephant in the room and pointing at the elephant in the room. Like, why even bring it up? Why not just play concert clips and play unreleased music and show unreleased photos? Like, why would you, kind of make his love life a focus of the documentary, but then kind of like wag your finger at people for being curious and then try to throw Patty under the bus for something that a lot of people suspected And a lot of people besides her have spoken on, Elton John being one of them. I remember reading an interview with Elton John talking about Luther Vandross being a gay man. And so I just felt like the shade towards Patti LaBelle was completely unnecessary because she was always a friend to Luther. And I don't know if she let it slip on Watch What Happens Live or not, but it was not malicious. So all of the shade towards her in the documentary, and it's true shade, it's not digs, it's shade, because if you know what a fan of Patty Luther was, you would kind of see that those are glaring admissions by not bringing her up when you're talking about his influences. So all of that shade was unnecessary. And as far as the documentary, I would say I wouldn't advise anyone to pay to see it. You know, tickets are expensive at the cinema. I paid $17. It was not worth it. It's supposed to be airing on CNN New Year's Day. And of course, there's going to be probably thousands of repeats. I would, I wouldn't say don't watch it. It's just, it wasn't cinema worthy at all. So I wouldn't recommend you paying for it. But, if you just have some wine and have some crackers one Saturday night and it's on. Like, yeah, it's somewhat interesting. You don't learn anything new. And the one thing that was interesting that I didn't think would be brought up that was Luther being involved in vehicular manslaughter, and this kind of shade to the victim because the victim was Luther's friend and they didn't even name the victim. That could probably be because the victim was maybe, a love interest of Luther. So, yeah, I wasn't too keen on the documentary. I didn't like the Patty disrespect. They could have just left all of that out and it just focused on the music, the composer, the arranger that he was, like touching on his personal life, not wanting to delve into it, and then trying to shame the audience if they wanted to kind of poke at it a little bit more. That was just, to me, it was just, it dampened the quality of the documentary. So I wouldn't recommend paying to see it, but if it comes on TV and you have CNN or you have whatever streaming service that you already are paying for, just try it out. And that is my review of Luther Vandross, Never Too Much.